Hey everybody, G4 Video 5 here, and welcome back to some more Grand Theft Auto Vice City, the definitive edition. In this part, we will be completing the Paramedic side mission, which is a requirement to complete in order to get your percentage points for 100%, and the way you activate doing this side mission is by entering an ambulance anywhere in Vice City, and then activating the side mission by clicking on the right stick, at least in the case of the Xbox One, and then you get to start saving lives, which is sometimes counterintuitive because, at least from my experience, when driving to these patients that we're rescuing over the course of the 12 levels of the Paramedic side mission, I actually end up running over quite a few pedestrians, and sometimes even the patients themselves, which I love that spinning falling down animation that just happened there. But, it all kind of just balances out with us rescuing people, but us also running over people on our way to rescuing people. So it's crazy stuff. All that really matters, though, is you rescuing these patients that spawn in for each level, and the number of the level correlates to how many patients end up spawning in for that level. So for level 1, you have one patient that spawns in that you need to pick up and bring back to the hospital. Level 2 has 2 patients, level 3, 3 patients, and so on and so forth, all the way up until level 12, where you have 12 patients spawning in, bleeding all around the place, randomly in Vice City, in the nearby areas to where you activated doing the side mission. And so you do have to be a bit strategic in the later levels, because the ambulance only fits 3 other passengers besides Tommy. And so you theoretically want to pick these people up in groups of 3, as nearby to each other as possible, to make it to where you don't have to continuously go back to a single area if you don't have to. So I guess that's really my strategy. There's really not a whole lot of strategy beyond that outside of trying to be cautious. Right there was a pretty close call, because if you run over these patients and you end up splattering them, then yeah, bad things happen and you end up failing the paramedic side mission. It just stops right there. So you do want to make sure that these folks survive their journey on over to the hospital. So a bit of caution is probably recommended, and patience, of course, for these patients, and all that good stuff. So overall, I find the Paramedic side mission to not be too bad in this game compared to Grand Theft Auto 3, where your window of opportunity for having an easy time with that is pretty narrow. I remember I had to be very strategic in Grand Theft Auto 3 when doing this side mission, because I had all of those gangs hostile towards me. And so there were some areas that I tried to avoid, so that way those gangs wouldn't end up shooting me and damaging my ambulance, because if this thing explodes and you have to leave the ambulance, then you end up just stopping the side mission right then and there. So you can't swap out ambulances at any point during this. It has to be one continuous run of completing all 12 levels of the Paramedic side mission. And the reward for doing this is actually incredibly worthwhile in the definitive edition version of this game, because there is no sprinting exploits here, as the reward is infinite sprint, which wasn't super useful in the original version of this game, because you could just tap the sprint button to, in essence, have infinite sprint. But here that doesn't work. In the definitive edition version of the game, you will still run out of stamina, even if you're tapping the sprint button here, which is really annoying, but I understand why they did it, because that is kind of overpowered and defeats the purpose of getting the reward of infinite sprint if you just naturally have it. So, I don't know, it's kind of a mixed bag with that one for me personally, but either way, though, it's a fantastic reward here, because it just nullifies that, I guess, patching of having this pseudo-infinite sprint. And it's best to do this as early as possible, honestly, because that is just so... I can't stress enough how fantastic a lot of these rewards are for doing these particular things, like the Pizza Boy and getting extra health, and then here with the Paramedic side mission and getting infinite sprint. That is just tremendous stuff. But overall, though, I had a great time doing this. This was not bad at all. No game crashes, because we're on a new save file for doing this particular side activity. So it was really peaceful doing this, because you don't have to worry about the hostile gangs this early in the game. and it is just tremendous driving anywhere. I will say, though, that maybe I should calm myself a little bit, because the roads are very narrow, and so this thing can still flip relatively easily because it's a top-heavy vehicle, so you're probably not... it's probably not in your best interest to be abusing the handbrake at every turn and whatnot, especially for sharp turns, because that can really flip your vehicle over quite easily. And these shortcuts, like right there, I tried to stay as close to the sidewalks as possible, because that's a flat surface compared to the bumpy grassy hills that you can potentially use as shortcuts, but I mean, it's just asking for trouble, because this thing can flip very easily, so just kind of going awkwardly off of any pseudo ramps or bumpy hills, like some shortcuts that we kind of drove through. And even right there, you're just going over that bump in the middle of the road can be a bit scary at times. And maybe I'm overreacting to it, but I do think that there is some credence to that, where if you're going off of one of those bumps, like in the middle of the road, at an awkward angle, then you're just asking for your vehicle to get flipped over, especially something like the ambulance. So it's best to approach all those different types of things as perpendicular as possible to prevent any awkward turning and rolling that can potentially happen there. But anyway, we're approaching the final cluster of patients that we need to pick up that are slowly but surely bleeding out on the streets, which is a bit of a sad sight there as they leave their bloody footsteps behind as they enter the ambulance. And I don't know why I'm getting all poetic about it, but I don't really think that there was a more efficient way of collecting these final patients. I don't know, because there was a bit of backtracking involved there, and man, that's a massive jelly puddle back there. But I tried being as efficient as possible, but I still had to backtrack at the end of the day, because sometimes you'll have like little sections of these patients that spawn in where you have like 4 patients in one single area, and so you will definitely have to backtrack to that area because you can only pick up 3 of them. So I don't know, I feel like I did a pretty decent job, because here we are, 6 minutes left to drop off these remaining patients. And I should point out something, because I only showed off level 1 and 12 of the Paramedic side mission, but you do get cash money rewards for completing all of these levels on top of the Infinite Sprint final reward for completing level 12, and in total you end up collecting $47,500, which is fantastic early game for purchasing weapons and ammo to prepare yourself for the adventures ahead. But anyway, that completes this part. In the next part, we will be completing the firefighter side mission, so until then, I will see you next time.